Greetings. This is a presentation about international procurement management. And with me, Rachel Tsabe is my name. With me is Mr. Mbazira Arthur, Ms. Nabukalu Nora, and Mr. Kavuma Henry. And we're looking at the lessons learned from COVID-19 and its impact on firms that engage in global value chains. And also in part B, we are looking at the different strategic options that can be designed to survive a demise of that kind as COVID-19 pandemic. Now, case study, COVID-19 and the global value chains. Global value chains are internationally distributed activities such as design, production, distribution involved in bringing a product or service from conception to end use, as defined by Gary 2019. Now, Kano 2020 differentiates between the global value chain and the supply chain. We noticed that a global value chain is in between countries and different firms produce part of a product before it's assembled as a whole, where the supply chain involves all activities from the production of an item to its supply to the end user. A global value chain ensures high efficiency rates, greater quality, better customer relationships and service, faster production cycle, among others. But a disruption of this, as we saw in COVID-19, has a vast impact that can significantly affect the global value chain. We see that it brought about three major problems. The shipping costs drastically increased. Exports, especially for essential medical goods, was curbed, and we had global lockdowns that heavily impacted the global value chain. Now, COVID-19, we know, it started in Wuhan, China, and China being the global production and distribution hub for the world, attributing to about 16% of all global exports. With that being locked down, it affected the entire world's economy. We see that manufacturers and distributors were unable to replenish their stock. Now, as the pandemic spread to the rest of the countries and all over the world, seaports were closed, airports were closed, and this brought about a supply chain disruption. To mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on business activities, there are many strategies that needed to be implemented. But before, these are what lessons that these different organizations that are involved in the global value chains learned. Lesson number one, diversification of suppliers. We noticed that companies that were deeply dependent on a single supplier or a limited number of suppliers faced significant disruptions during the pandemic. This called for supplier diversification too. Spread the risk across, mitigate these risks by having multiple regions from where to source from. For instance, the example is construction industry experienced a production hold. Most of the steel that is used in these construction farms is sourced predominantly from China. So by shutting down China, companies could not be able to source this steel, calling for a need to diversify to other regions in case there's a future event.
I will continue with the lessons learned. The second one is supply chain transparency. This has been achieved through the investment in technologies like blockchain and real-time tracking systems to improve the transparency and traceability within their supply networks. Localized production and nearshoring. Many firms apprehended the risks associated with over-reliance on distant suppliers and long complex. Now, for example, most of the products were coming from China. Companies depended on their raw materials and really faced a big problem. So what Uganda learned was to come up with a slogan of Bubu, which means buy Uganda and build Uganda. The government encouraged its local manufacturers by giving them grants, tax holidays, and freelance so that they can have that capacity. What Uganda learned was to come up with a slogan of Bubu, which means buy Uganda and build Uganda. The government encouraged its local manufacturers by giving them grants, tax holidays, and freelance so that they can have that capacity. Next slide, please. Resilient business models. The pandemic highlighted the need for resilient business models that can quickly adapt to changing circumstances. Adopting flexible business models allows organizations to adapt quickly to changing market conditions. For example, here, we have lots of seasons. We have the Christmas season, needy season. So companies were encouraged to really come up with the business models that can, where they can be able to produce products according to the seasons that are available. Digitalization and remote operations. The pandemic accelerated the adoption of digital technologies and remote operations across industries. Companies that had already invested in digital infrastructure and remote work capabilities were better equipped to adapt to the disruption caused by lockdowns and social distancing measures. This enabled employees to work from home, ensuring productivity while minimizing health risk associated and with the physical proximity in the workplaces. Also here in Uganda, companies were able to equip their workers with digital appliances like computers and data so that they could be able to work from home. The last one is green transformation of the global value chain, which includes sustainability and ethical considerations. The pandemic brought attention to the social and environmental implications of global change. Companies faced with scrutiny over their treatment of workers and environmental practices. This involved where companies were able to produce products that have low residues, which could ensure waste management. And strict laws have been put in place and which need to be complied with.
Strategies that were designed and to be implemented by organizations to survive demise now and in future of similar and even much worse pandemics like COVID-19 include inventory management. Inventory management looks at minimizing inventory costs and avoiding shortages of inputs. The second one looks at digitalization and automation. Automation looks at reducing human workforce. It also aims at creating online market, enhancing flexibility and efficient, and it also makes operations less vulnerable to workforce interruptions. Then we also look at scenario planning and risk management. This one here, firms should develop and regularly update a wide-ranging crisis management plan that outlines the roles and responsibilities, contingent measures for various scenario exercises to anticipate and prepare for scenarios such as supply chain disruptions. Then we also look at business continuity planning. This one aims at continuous operations of critical business functions in the face of pandemic. It also necessitates identifying systems, resources, and key personnel to sustain crucial operations and implement measures to minimize disruptions. Then we also have broadening revenue streams. This one aims at diversifying revenue streams through creating multiple sources of income. It can also be done across different markets, products, or services to reduce reliance on a single source of operation. Yeah, so Kavma, you can also come in.
Implementation emphasis on sustainability and resilience. Emphasizing sustainability and resilience, organizations integrate sustainability practices into business operations, therefore enhancing resilience and preparing organizations to address climatic change-related issues and long-term challenges and the pandemics. Next. Investment in health care and safety protocols. Investment in health care and safety protocols, organizations implement robust health and safety in accordance with the guidelines from health authorities so that everything is guided and in a good practice. Next. Customer engagement and corporate social sustainability. Firms should constantly get to their communities and contribute to pandemic relief farm efforts through donating supplies, volunteering support, or providing financial assistance to vulnerable population. Likewise, through providing open and transport communication and reassurance to customers regarding changes in business operations. In conclusion, COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the vulnerabilities inherent in global value chain, the critical importance of resilience and adaptability in navigating disruptions. All has been given regarding the lessons learned from the COVID-19 and strategies have been given regarding the supply chain references given under